online version, I think, it did not have a year ago. I don't know if they've improved it. Graphs are not an expression of creativity. Keep that in mind. No fancy colors, no bizarre graphics. It is just straightforward. I should be able to look at it and know exactly what you're doing. So in this lab, right here, step number 6, on one graph, graph displacement versus force. That is your title. Your title is not graph. It is not graph 1. It is exactly as it's written there, displacement versus force. All 5 of you should have the exact same title.
Oh, where does it say that?
Graph displacement versus force.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now, the first word here that is closest to the vertical axis, that is the dependent variable. So you'll have displacement written right here, followed by a space, parentheses, and then the units, which I think in this case are, yep, meters. Force is the other one. Units, space, followed by the units of newtons. You are to do a scatter plot. Now, if you go to Scatterplot, depends on which version you're using, if you go to Scatterplot, it'll give you various different options of scatter plots. You want the one that is just points. So once you create the scatter plot, you should have, you'll have data points plotted right there. I don't need to see what the values are. If I want to see the values, I'll look back at your table. Then, add trendline. When you add the trend line, there's 2 features that you need to make sure that you check. You want to check the show equation. It's either show or display, something like that. Show equation and show R squared value. Now, in the older versions of Excel, you would just right-click on one of the data points, and there would be an option, or you can potentially right-click in the graph. Once you do that, it's going to give you a line of best fit and an equation. If you're using Excel, it'll be y equals something x plus something, and then r squared equals, and then some number. If you're using Open Office spreadsheet, it'll be f of x instead of y. You don't have to go in and change the y and the x here to what's appropriate for that graph. On a formal report you do, but on this, no. And did you have Miss Sasson for 131, most of you?
Have what?
Miss Sasson, where did you take one? You took 131 here or Guilford?
Guilford. I took it, I had an Indian lady.
Okay. Who'd you have for 131?
131
Physics 131, did you take that here?
Yeah, right.
Did you?
No, I don't know the name of the.
Okay. Was he in class with you?
I think I don't remember.
No, he was in, because I had a drop one, he was in the original class.
Okay.
So you did have assessment.
Yeah, yes.
If you've had Miss Sasson, this is exactly what she would have wanted to do. So, if you don't know how to do a graph, if you look at the material that I have posted or should have posted, if you're not seeing it, it should be under Lab's lab manual. That's where, or at the very first thing for labs, sometimes I'll have how to make graphs, just because it happens. You'll be doing graphs a lot. This particular one, you're going to have 3 different sets of lines. When you have multiple lines, you do need some sort of legend. If you're printing out in color, great. but most of the time people print it out in black and white. And so if you're printing out in black and white, just make sure that somehow these are differentiated, you know, triangles and squares or whatever looks right.
Or make multiple graphs, is that, or make multiple graphs, right?
No, in this particular case, it says on one graph.
Oh, on one graph, okay.
Yeah, on multiple, most labs, it'd be multiple graphs and not a problem. But in this one, I specifically want to be able to look at the comparison. All right, I think that is basically it. Any questions about labs in general before I talk about specifically this one?
Not here.
All right, so 2 different springs from the box of 5. All right, so over here, you've got some empty boxes for some reason. A set of 5 springs. Please make sure that the springs that you are using are noticeably different. Don't pick 2 springs that have basically the same stiffness to them, because then you'll get 2 graphs basically right on top of each other. And also, who knows how these things have been mixed and matched. It's possible that you have 2 springs that are supposed to have the same spring constant. Just please make sure that they are noticeably different. There was one up here, there it is. So the spring is going to have this marker on here. You can use this when you're trying to figure out what position do I actually measure. You can use this as points to a point on the meter stick, and just wherever the red marker is. Meter sticks are usually over here. You can see 2 of them sticking up out of the box. Hook masses, you've already identified where those are. And I do ask that when you are done, usually it's not an issue. I did have one class that was absolutely horrible with putting stuff away at the end. And all it did was make me mad, and I took it out on the next group. So don't make me take it out on the next group, just put stuff back, put stuff away where it's supposed to go. Now, if you don't know where it goes, because it's quite possible one person got the equipment and you're putting it back and you're not quite sure where the person got it, ask, don't just put it down somewhere. I would much rather you ask me than for my have to later on be looking for it and can't find it because it's been misfiled. There is an organization to this room, although it has gotten steadily worse since last March for some unknown reason. And then this next bit, you will hear me say probably every time we're about to do a lab. And don't forget, rejoice, because this is physics. All right, so face shields, you have your face shield. Anyone else have a face shield?
We need probably 4.
4, okay. Please feel free to put your name on these.
I don't have anything I can put them on with. Put the name on with.
I'm sure there's a lot on here somewhere. Here, I'll take that one.
Do you have a?
Doesn't want to give up.
There
we go.
Do you have a?
Make sure.
Got a marker or something?